Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kodash. Double honors into the apostles, double honors into the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. The would-be judges, the 144,000 spoken of in the Bible, which are the tabernacle of David, the kingdom of heaven, will be here on earth, set up by who the world falsely and fraudulently calls JC. His name is Yahweh Shai, not Yeshua, Yahweh Shai. All right. And that tabernacle of David primarily makes up the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, whether you accept that or not. And to the rest of the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen nations that have the appearance of the heathen nations. This is not a black only thing, as Edomites and some very wicked Israelites prescribe that false ideology. Okay. As a matter of fact, I believe that Miss Anna here, the little blonde chick, is actually one of those scattered Israelites. She wouldn't understand that and she wouldn't know that. Or who knows? She might even receive it. All right. But that's neither here nor there. And to the Akwaf, the sisters that are listening and learning, to you, I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in brutal truth about the downfall, the shameful embarrassment and fall of Esau, Edom, right? And all the destruction that they're going to cause to themselves and definitely to Jacob as we enter, further into Jacob's trouble as it gets closer to going full blown. But this is a copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. So we're going to talk about this Miss Boebert here, the little brunette chick, and well, basically we're going to let her speak about the shame as she brings more shameful spewing onto Esau, Edom, and how Americans are, especially, former MAGA, but, the MAGA is split. They're totally split. And a lot of people feel betrayed and are disenchanted with Trump. And these Edomite Americans are ready to wage war against their own government. All right. And, and as the government, look, let's just face it. We have a criminal government that are protecting criminals as they with the most oppressive laws against the people, tax laws, and push things like Title 4D child support as they're eating, killing, and murdering children. As they inject children with stuff that, that destroys their health. They don't really care. It's all about money with them. Okay, and that's becoming more and more obvious as once again you have a government in place that violates the laws, violates its own laws to protect its wealthy, rich elite, who supposedly are under those laws, but clearly are not, and then forcibly enforces those laws upon the citizens, and they see it and they're fed up with it. All right, 2 Ezra 15 and 16 are at hand around the world with other governments, and they're definitely it's here, and it's just going to get worse. So without any further ado, actually, you know what? This is one of those. Let me just read Job 27 and 15. Because this is something I thoroughly enjoy watching the Edomite woman come against her man, which is a clear evidence that the curses that were upon us, upon the Israelites, is now falling upon the Edomites. But this is Job 27 and Job 20 and I should be in 27. I'm in 20. 27 and 15, and it reads, Those that remain of him shall be buried in death, and his widows shall not weep. So, you know, there's a lot of shameful spewing on the glory of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and there's a lot of embarrassment with them as they're seeing, because all these issues in America that they like to blame on everyone else, this is policy of white men, and the women that have supported them. That's where the shame is coming in. And the Israelites that you scoffed and called hate groups and everything else have been warning you of this for decades on the internet. And now it's coming out. Okay? You even have the Edomites warning you of it, but none as much as us, which is why we know they're going to eventually blame us. They're going to soundbite videos like this one and use AI to, you know, and to fabricate a story. You sample your voice and make you say something you never said. Typical stuff that Esau Edom does. All right? But let's let these ladies shit on Edomite men.
Has reviewed some of the unredacted Epstein. Lauren Boebert has reviewed some of the unredacted Epstein files, and she's saying a lot. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there are all sorts of theories, all sorts of claims being made about what these released Epstein files, many of which are heavily redacted for us, actually say about Epstein, his co-conspirators, and the behavior they engaged in. And it goes beyond simply preying on underage girls, which is bad enough. So we're about to hear from Boebert explain what she saw. Take a look.
This seems that it wasn't only the trafficking of young girls, as the narrative suggests, but there are code words that suggest Jeffrey Epstein and his associates could maybe even be engaging in some sort of consumption. Is that human consumption? Are there code words? There's a lot of talk of beef jerky. There's a restaurant called The Cannibal where the owner is listed in some of these documents. Now, that isn't a restaurant that is just proclaiming to serve human meat by any means, but
and it just goes forth, which brings us to this. The Iranians burning Baal with the Israeli, flag on his forehead or on him. But what I found most interesting, the elephant in the room, is what they weren't talking about. No one mentioned the American obelisk, which is just like the one that sits in Washington, D.C. It's like they're just trying to isolate this Iranian thing to just Israel, and is it then they're not throwing a shot at America too? That phallic symbol. And just so you know, that phallic symbol right there, which is which is worship of a penis, which these freaks and perverts are clearly using on underage children and dead bodies and whatever else the hell they're doing. All right, that phallic symbol, that penis symbol that you see right there is also represented by them every day when they wear neckties. That's what you're looking at when you're looking at a necktie. You're looking at an erected penis, and they wear them directly around their neck. Or they'll wear the one with the testicles. You would call that a bow tie. All right, then they become that bald face. You know, we here at GMS refer to them as bald chinians. All right, like the joke that Will Smith cracked in one of those in one of those movies that he made. All right, one of those alien movies. Because that's exactly what it looks like when you're wearing a bow tie with a bald face. You got a bald face and a set of nuts sitting under them. And that's what this, and so in case you didn't know that, now you know it. You can't, once you see it, you can't unsee it. When you see all these white males with the bald face, which makes me wonder the symbolism of that, youth, how they like young children, young girls, blood, penis worship, penis hanging from their neck. Like I said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And the connections. Well, let's listen to what this guy has to say, this Wally Rashid guy. Okay? So let's listen to Wally Rashid. So I'm going to assume, he looks like I guess he's an Ishmaelite, but he looks more like Esau to me. But, Esau and and Ishmael, interbred and mixed a lot, because Ishmael used to be just as dark or darker than some Negroes. All right. So there's clearly been a lot of blood mixing with the Ishmaelites. All right. Because, Ishmael was just as dark as a so-called Negro, as an Israelite, actually. Some of them still are.
Weird. This is the Canaanite god, also later known as a demon figure Baal. And in Iran, they put the statue together to burn it in defiance while showing the Star of David on its head and the Israel flag and chanting death to Israel. There's a reason this is happening now, and it's happening following the release of the Epstein files. Also, because of the fact that there was a document with the word Baal written on it in the Epstein files that I'm going to also show you in a bit. Some people question whether or not it's actually referencing this demon figure. So,
well, it's also a symbol of the destruction of the of Babylon. Like I said, what they didn't do was, and no one yet has to talk about that phallic symbol, that same symbol that's in Washington, proving that America is also spiritually Egypt, and that when we the prophets of the Lord have been telling you for decades on the internet, starting with the apostles and the elder bishops, of these things, the worship of Baal and Moloch. Here in America, they worship all the ancient deities, and all that is deeply rooted in the Talmud, the Kabbalah, and in Judaism, and this is what they do. All right, and Christianism has co-signed this, and now it's all coming out, and the people are angry. Okay, so let's go to Romans real quick. This is Romans. The book of Romans 9th chapter. And start at verse 16, the point is 17. All right. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but God that sheweth mercy. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, all right, now you got to remember, you go down to Romans 9 and 13, it talked about how the Lord loved Jacob but hated Esau. Okay. And then it's comparing Esau to Pharaoh. Thinking of, and you can write these down, especially any of you new folks, referencing Daniel 4 and 17, the basis of man being set up over mankind in the last days. Job 9 and 24, referencing that the wicked race of people was given dominion over the world. That start and that wicked race being the Edomites, which their rulership started with Alexander of Macedon. Alexander is an Edomite. As a matter of fact, he's an Amalekite on top of that, right? The Macedonians were Amalek, and there's this scriptural evidence of that, though AI would try to tell you opposite, but no, it's there. It's clearly in the scriptures, okay? And then you got Proverbs 16 and 4, when the even the wicked were made for the day of evil. And now we're in those days. All right, so the day of evil is when the Lord comes and destroys them. All right, and they've done their wickedness. Their wickedness has reached its pinnacle. See, we're coming to the end of the age, and the end of the age, and that word, that's another word for world. All right, in the Bible, there's a couple different meanings of the word world in the Bible. You have to be able to identify, to be able to understand, to have the understanding which world we're talking about. All right. Because people love to go read, for God so loved the world. Well, that's not the same world as when it says, when it's speaking about the eon, about the end of the world. Two different things. Okay. Because it's the end of the age, which is the end of Esau, Edom's world. And it tells you that the end of Edom's world is the beginning of Jacob's, the kingdom here on earth. All right. Which is an everlasting kingdom that will never fall. Okay. Romans 9 and 17. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for the same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and my name might be declared through all the earth. So so the Lord's going to show his power by destroying the Edomites, just as the Hebrew Israelites have said. All right. 2 Corinthians 11 and 22. Are they Israelites? Are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I, as Paul declared. All right. Paul was a Roman citizen, but he was a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. Okay. For you not so intelligent Christians out there. Christians are really ignorant when it comes to things about the Bible collectively. Therefore, he have mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he hardeneth. He hardeneth. Thou wilt say unto him, why doth thou yet find fault? For who resisteth his will? Because the Lord, it's his will that's being done. And his will was for Esau, Edom to get this current temporary wicked evil world, okay? And as punishment to the Israelites, just trying to center this video so you can see everything. And then for after Esau reached a certain level of time in his wickedness, then to bring them down and raise Jacob up to show his power. That's why I reference those scriptures, because the Lord ruleth in the kingdom of men. All right. Yahweh does. He ruleth in the kingdom of men and set up over it who he will. Okay. And he set up the Edomites, and now their time is up. Okay. Verse 19. Though he say unto me, why dost thou yet find fault? Who have resisted his will? Nay, but, O man, who art thou to reply us against God? Shall the thing formed him say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? He have not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? So, because people like say, well, Esau and Jacob had the same dad, but he told you that they were two different nations. He told Rebekah that there were two different nations in her womb that shall be separated. Even though, yes, they were physically brothers, but they were fathered two different nations. All right. And that will be the Israelites and the Edomites. And the Edomites are the so-called white people who are the ruling class people today. And the Israelites, just as prophesied, are the people that are on the bottom. And the people that are on the very bottom in this world today are so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. That's what it is. When it tells you that the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Well, we know who's first in this society. They've bragged about it for centuries. And we definitely know who's last in this society. Okay. And it says, what if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured much long suffering, the vessels of wrath fitted for destruction? So he endured the merciless, destructive rulership, unfair, oppressive murder of people and children, and in slavery and all these wicked things that the Edomites done. The Lord has endured that for a long period of time, and now that their time is up. Hence the reason why they want to change and get rid of, redact history. Same way they tried to redact everything out of these files. They want to redact the murder. They want to redact the fact that they were eating Israelites. They were eating Negro slaves. That they made shoes, boots, and belts, coin purses out of men's scrotum sacks. That they made tobacco pouches out of so-called black women's breast. All right. That they feasted on their flesh. That they raped them. That they raped men, butt breaking, raped men in front of women and children. And then elevated the woman over the man, still to this day, which is why the so-called black race is so dysfunctional. Esau, Edom did that. He placed, and now that same curse fell upon him because he made his woman equal, and now his woman has raised above him. More women have employment than men within, and so now that's creating that imbalance. because women feel like they can, I'm making all the money, I call the shots. But, well, once again, all the failures of America are failures because of white man's policies. And then with those very same policies, he arrested the development of so-called blacks, especially the men, all right, for decades, for centuries. And now he's down, and now the common Edomite male and family is right there in the same gutter, as so-called black people now. Hence the reason you can see and totally see that they're falling. This is Romans, go back to Romans 9 and 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So all that unfair, wicked treatment that they did, the drowning up, the burning down of all the black towns that were built up by former slaves that actually built themselves up above, middle class whites. And then what do white people do? They went and they burned all those neighborhoods down. They drowned them. More than 200 of them. All right. Just out of racist hate and jealousy. And if you didn't know this history, go look it up. Okay, they did this all in the 19th, from the 18th and the 18th, late 18th century and the 19th century. And then what they do, they put up tenement houses and projects in a place, and welfare. And then they kept them out of, didn't allow them to own homes, didn't allow them to own firearms. So many things. The redlining, the Jim Crow era. They did all these things to arrest the development of the so-called Negro, especially, and now they found themselves right in the gutter with them. And this is divine intervention that's doing this. Why? Because this is where we are. And in this destruction that you're seeing on screen, this is also showing you it's not just a destruction of the Israelis and Baal and their flag, but they're showing you the burning and destruction. When they burned down this thing that they built, they also were showing you that they're going to destroy America, and the nations are going to come together and do exactly that. For it is written, all right? That's when it says in Revelation, and the nations shall hate the whore, all right, and burn her with fire. So this is a precursor to what's actually going to happen. I think that's Revelation 17. Yeah, and it says Revelation 17:16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, and that being, that's the EU and NATO, all right? And America is the whore that sat at the head of that. These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. That's that Edomite on Edomite violence. So not only is it going to be Edomite on Edomite violence within the borders of America, but you're also going to have Western Edomites fighting against Eastern Edomites. And as the rabbis are telling you, the Roman Empire, it was a dragon, just like the scriptures say, that was wounded but did live, because they split up. And the rabbis pointed out the fact that both Eastern European Christianity, Eurasian Christianity, and Western Christianity are Esav, Edom, and that they must be destroyed upon the second coming of Hamashiach. The rabbis tell you that. What they don't tell you is that they're also Edom, all right? And they are. So they're looking at, this is what's about to happen, and we'll wrap it up with this. This is Job 18. I'm going to start at verse 5. And it reads, yeah, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. For the light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out of with him. The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. That's what you saw right here. His own counsel, Lauren Boebert, who's looked like she's been spending a lot of time in a tanning bed, because usually Edomite women are lighter than Edomite men. little Miss Lauren Boebert here. All right. Casting he's just being casted down. Okay. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon the steps. So I'm going to start that again. The light of his, I'm going to start at verse 6 again, Job 18:6. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. So, the parties going against each other and revealing information. And it was mostly women that brought out this information against them because they were angry that these other Edomite women who were grouped, raped over and over again and abused by these males got no justice. All right. When they would burn down whole black towns over a lie, for Edomite woman who never did get raped, but they would burn it down anyway, just over a rumor, which was a lie. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. The gent shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and the trap for him in the way. Terror shall make him afraid on every side, and he shall drive him to his feet. His strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. It shall devour the strength of his skin. Even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. His confidence shall be rooted out in his tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors. The king of terrors is the Lord, man. He's coming to tear the firstborn of death. He's coming to bring death, just like he did in ancient Egypt. All right. It shall dwell in his tabernacle, because it is none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. All right, when he rained down them arrows that fly from one end of the earth to another, and none of them are going to miss. His root shall be dried up beneath, and above shall its branch be cut off. No children, no male children. All right. His remembrance shall perish from the earth. He shall have no name in the streets. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. And we're beginning to see that, because the next stop for Esau Edom after this third woe, after he's utterly destroyed out of powers, the ones that remain of them are going into slavery for 1,000 years. And at the end of that 1,000 years, they're going to get rounded up and burned. And going back to verse 17, his remembrance shall perish from the earth. He shall have no name in the streets. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. He shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwelling. See, because you need sons, all right, to keep you going. Contrary to popular belief, to this lie that Esau Edom pushed, there's no such thing as mixed. All right. There's no such thing as mixed. All right. Whatever the man is, that is his children, regardless of the complexion of their skin. All right. Because there's a lot of chocolate brown Edomites running around, because Edomite men have laid their seed in a lot of brown women. So there's millions of brown Edomites running around. So it has nothing to do with having pale flesh. Not anymore. Okay. It says that they come after him. They that come after him shall be astonished at his day, as they went before were affrighted. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this place of him that know, and this is the place of him that knoweth not God. So they're going to be made to know God in a worse way. They're going to remember who they're going to remember. The Lord is going to make them remember who he is and who his people are. Because the Lord is coming to set up the tabernacle of David. All right. The kingdom of heaven will be here on earth. And the Israelites will be the judges of that. And David will sit on the throne yet again. That is what the scriptures say. That is the end of the world. That is the kingdom of heaven, not some place floating around in the clouds. The kingdom of heaven is going to be an earthly kingdom, just like Camelot, just way better, a million times better. So with that, I want to give all praises, all honor and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rikahak, Wadash, Kwam, Yasharala, Abba, Babal.